Welcome, welcome, welcome. You beautiful, you sophisticated, you intelligent, you demure, you absolutely fantastic 12-0 undefeated regular season Florida State fans. I am Trey Rowland, and it is an absolute pleasure to welcome you to this instant reaction victory. I am here with Adam Brown, Kevin Little, and myself, Trey Rowland, and your Florida State Seminoles 12-0, a regular undefeated season. No, not just a Michigan undefeated season, an undefeated season where you tested yourself out of conference. LSU, Michigan, you ran the gauntlet of the ACC undefeated. My God, the absolute stress, dexterity, the immense fortitude you showed tonight to go into your rival's house. They had nothing to play for other than to ruin your season with the Tatester. Tate McGillicuddy. Tate Magic. They came in and he had a target on his beautifully manicured back. You did not care. You came in with one of the worst first quarters I have ever seen as a Florida State fan, statistically, aesthetically, artistically, absolutely gross. You came back and you're a Mike Norvell team. So what did you do? You hung in there. You're a resilient son of a gun bunch. You ended up and you won. And my God, what a beautiful rivalry game when the other team thought you were easy pickings. No, sir, not tonight. Florida State wins 24-15 in a fashion not the most visually pleasing, but if anything showed over these past couple of days, rivalry week is rivalry week, and unfortunately, the strength of the team sometimes does not matter. You have won. You have played every single team in front of you and have won. And guess what? There ain't many teams in the country that can say that, especially at the Power 5 level. I am proud of these Florida State Seminoles.
Amen.
My word, it was a ride. Adam Brown, how are you feeling, my beautiful bald compatriot?
I'm feeling like I need to calm down a little bit so my heart doesn't explode. I don't know. We were talking about it off air before we kind of jumped on here, Kevin and I think you kind of jumped in the middle of the conversation when you got on. Like, I never thought they were going to lose this game. I really didn't. Like, I was aggravated and frustrated with how Tate was playing. I was certainly calling him dog meat to Kev just because.
What a fun group chat.
Kev needed to be humbled. Kev needed to be humbled a bit. But at the same time, like we both were saying, like that Florida offense was unsustainable. But there just was never a point where I thought, okay, they're going to be able to do 4 quarters of this. And ultimately, that's what played out. Like you just kind of owned them in the second half yet again. And they who would have thought like that the run game would be the thing that led you. I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit in our preview for it. We knew that they were going to give up some explosive runs. It felt like Mike and the offensive plan was kind of like, look, we're going to stay patient. We trust the defense to win us this game. We also at the same time know like they're going to give explosive runs up when we catch them in the right look and the right blitz. And ultimately that's where it came, or that's where it came from. That's where your offense came from. And Tate did enough. And he didn't make the big mistake to cost you.
No, other than the safety, there was never the, oh my God, like the catastrophic Tate mess up. No, at the beginning of the game, I will give credit to the Florida defense. I thought they'd be an easier mark for our run game. They played us very well.
Listen to this stat. All right, David Hale just tweeted it out. Florida's fourth quarter, 50 penalty yards, 4 sacks allowed, and 0 plays to gain positive yardage.
Second half defense is insane.
I don't want to say that's digging up in somebody's you know what, but God.
It's funny that the better coached team showed the most composure throughout the game. Dude, the way that homeboy spray spit in our guys' face, like if you're gonna, I guess if you want to take the shot of spitting in somebody's face, maybe a direct line of loogie might be the best bit.
Yeah.
Then the putting your thumb over the fire hose like spray that is so
Yeah, I didn't
clearly
get that.
visible.
I didn't get
That dude, that disgusting hit on Tate Rodemaker when he was clearly giving himself up like 5 feet before the first down. The drive would have been over. You just had to lay hands on the Tatester. Once again, on the road, the better coach team won. And I have to give Billy Napier credit, in my opinion, for the way that he schemed up looks for his run game in a way that we thought was possible. I thought he had good looks for him. But, man, over a course of 60 minutes, just a very undisciplined effort from the top. As far as like total yards, Florida had 232. You only had 224, 134 through the air for Florida State, 90 rushing, which seems almost like monumental from like, what were your first 2 rushing plays? Like negative like 20? Like
Well,
it was absolutely brutal.
Minus 11.
It was absolutely brutal, but I've got to give the Florida State defense for hanging in there, playing disciplined football. They had 1 turnover at the end with that Kalen DeLoach interception. I thought they could add many more. The ends, Jared Verse, and especially Patrick Payton. Sparkling game. You played phenomenal. Kev, what did you think of the overall, the effort in this rivalry game? Are you happy with it? I mean, where are you at right now?
Yeah, so I think we went into this game personally saying you needed the rest of the team to step up because, you know, Tate's going to be a new quarterback in a new environment, a lot of things on his shoulders. I mean, we've already documented he holds onto the ball. He is a little bit slow progressing through his reads sometimes. He has a tendency to throw the ball into traffic sometimes, so they're going to protect him. They're going to create a game plan that kind of keeps his throws predictable. They're not going to ask a lot of them, and they're going to bank on their team being the better team top to bottom, just like AB was saying. And in the first half, they weren't. I'm going to be completely honest. They either weren't blocking runs well or they were missing reads on runs. I think we can agree on that. It's hard to know what that was without a rewatch. Tate was holding onto the ball. He wasn't getting rid of it. When he did, there were a couple of things where potentially could have been drops or potential PIs that weren't called that kind of stalled drives. I think a big thing about Tate was that those three delay games could hurt you in another game, and they really did hurt you in the first half. But it was a completely different team. Everybody stepped up around them. You saw some explosive runs when they got favorable looks. You were seeing Florida a lot of times giving these too high looks and then bringing in someone late, trying to play games, trying to get that extra man in the box late to try to kind of, hopefully, get a free runner on Tate or kind of stop up the run game with a pre-snap look. I think they ask a lot of quarterbacks pre-snap, which is probably why you saw Tate kind of getting those delay games. You see, even Tate was up there making even Glenn was making some pre-snap adjustments.
Sure.
That's a lot to ask in a difficult environment, but they expect their guys to do it. And I think he kind of didn't sometimes, but he made the throws he needed to make. He made some really quality throws and some really big times. That third down throw, he saw the blitz coming off the edge. He progressed from right to left. He read the whole field and delivered a ball into the open guy to get a first down. That was really big and could have sealed the game if you got a touchdown off of that. But you got to be excited about this. Like, this defense won you. Like, although the jury's still out on Tate, you could tell that they had the bubble wrap on him still. The jury is not out on Adam Fuller and what this defensive unit is. I mean, that's a decent offense. I mean, they're a top 25 offense. We were coming in saying, well, they're going to get their 20, low 20 points. And, because they're a good offense, they scheme things up. That first half looked a whole lot like the UNA half, where they did some tackle over stuff. They did some motion. They got some eye candy, tried to break some big plays. But ultimately, Florida State adjusted and shut it down. And, hats off to the Florida offensive staff for getting a few things in there. but they buckled down and held this Florida offense to basically nothing. And that's an Adam Fuller joint. That's a defensive joint. You're seeing Kalen DeLoach be one of the best defensive players in the country, in my opinion.
So confident.
Jared Durst stepped up. Like, that defense is for real.
I think the defensive line more than anything. Like they took the second half over, and really in the first half too. Malcolm Ray was making huge, massive plays over and over again. You saw him getting off of blocks. They did a lot of movement up front to try to attack this run game. Obviously, Verse was dominant. Gilbert Edmond played a really good game. You saw your backups in Edmond and Byron Turner go in there and not kill you, which is something that people have been screaming about all season. But Edmond, I thought, played a good game, stout against the run.
Braden Fisk, man.
Fisk, yeah, I mean, a kid shows up in a boot. The last point, Trey, I know where we keep it moving here. Braden Fisk shows up in a boot, and then he gets out on the field, and he's just a force. Fabian Lovett, you get these big games, you're going to get big game Fabian Lovett. That son of a gun is a dominant force.
And the way that the game played out with just the run of luck, just the run of chance, just the run of the game that they went, you needed your defense to keep it in it, to not be an inescapable outcome. And they did it. And we knew there would be a lot placed on that defensive line, especially the interior of the defensive line, with the way that Florida blocks those schemes, and their running backs, which were underrated nationally. We knew that they were something to really be worried about. You contained them as much as you could. And I thought, man, your defense stepped up. Let's talk about the game chronologically, because Florida State, the first 3 scoring plays were not by Florida State. They were by Florida. Florida had you 12-0. They had that Montrell Johnson 5-yard run, which it had to be ACC refs. I've never seen. Listen, I'm so prone to hyperbole, and this is the worst thing ever. What do you want Akeem Dent to do on that sack on the quarterback? He purposely held up, tackled him with his breasticles. He just chest bumped him, and the kid went down. Far too rough. And then, of course, Florida scores, because once you give somebody 7 scores in the red zone, they're going to figure it out. Yeah. So that sucked. The kid made a field goal. They had you in just absolutely dire field position for most of the entire first half. And they got you 12-0 when they blitzed Tate. And he looked like a tranquilized deer on the other side of a Ford F-150. However, Kev, for you, what did you think of the offensive game plan? What changed on that long drive the spitting drive to score at half to make it 12-7 at the end of the first?
I mean, I think Mike told you. You had negatives in the first few drives that really stalled things, right? You had that negative 12-yard run by Trey Benson that stalled the first drive. I don't care if Tom Brady was in on 3rd and 17,
killed it.
Yeah, it's dead, right? 3rd and 21 or whatever. The second drive, that was on Tate. He had the delay of game that put you behind the change. You just weren't blocking well enough. You weren't running the ball well enough, and you really didn't. With that environment, you didn't want to put Tate in 3rd and longs and ask a lot of him. So the negatives were really kind of putting you in a tough position with a new quarterback in a tough environment where you really don't want to ask him to push the ball downfield on 3rd and 15 at the beginning of the game before he's really gotten any completions under his belt. And so those negatives early on kind of stalled your drives. After that, you got the big run play. You're able to get no huddle. You're able to kind of get Florida on their heels. They weren't able to play as many games with kind of who they're bringing and kind of disguising their looks as well. And so then you got some easy completions for Tate. I thought that he made the throws. When the guys are open, Tate makes throws. And he made a few clutch throws tonight. I don't think overall you watch this and you say, well, he's cemented anything. He has limitations, and you saw them tonight. Hopefully they're things that as he gets more game reps and this team gels around him, you see less and less of those kind of hiccups. He's more comfortable making the pre-snap reads. He's more comfortable stepping in the pocket, knowing when to scramble versus when to
Right.
When to hold the ball. Like, I think there are some things there that you hope can get fixed with game reps against a Louisville team before a bowl game. But there was limitations, and I think there were purposeful limitations as well. I don't think that they didn't want to ask him to win the game. He made some clutch throws. I think he helped you win the game. I don't think he was actively hurting your team long run, but that first quarter, really, a lot of it was because you just couldn't trust a new quarterback to be the guy that's bailing you out of 3rd and longs.
I would also add, I'm sorry, Trey. I would also add that the field position didn't help very much in making decisions
Correct.
of what to do with the offense. I mean, you were constantly in that first half backed up in your own end and not able to get a play to get you out of there.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. The way the game piled up, especially in that first quarter, the way that Florida was able to control the flow of the game, run it out. You only got 3 plays in that first quarter, and they were all backed up in your own end zone. It was tough. It would be tough for anybody to ask anything out of their quarterback. And Tate wasn't his best moment, but
Tate is what he is, man.
I agree. Now I totally agree with you. He has his limitations, but when he has a clean read, when he has a guy that's open, he can fire the ball and get it there as good as anybody. His stats for the night, he was 12 for 25, 134 yards. Like, not great. He got robbed of a touchdown by a poor effort from Keon Coleman. Like, there were some plays that he made with his like, when he sees it, he will fire the ball off. It's when things start to break down, the improvisational ability, like, he does not have that, but he might not need it. So I thought that he played a great game manager game. The guy that I really want to highlight on the offensive side of the ball is Trey Benson.
What a moron.
Yeah. So can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
There are some very loud voices. We just
he's got to be a Miami fan.
Yeah, that are just talking like
about what
Kevin made these claims that Tate Rodemaker was gonna be a better quarterback than Jordan Travis and blah blah.
Oh no!
In my video, I clearly stated
he's
he's had problems making bad decisions in the past. He's had problems with eye discipline, and he's had problems with holding on to the football. And you saw that rear its head. You saw him make struggles. He was not elevating the team out there. Like, I think that's fair to say. But he did what he needed to do, and I think you got to give a hats off to him in a tough environment. Like,
Zachy,
you can like how much confidence and moxie that Brock Glenn has, but
your ass in here, Zach.
You saw a quarterback on the other side of the field that had confidence and moxie. That was a young kid that didn't get a lot of reps, and you saw that he made some mistakes and he made some throws that were risky throws that you don't necessarily want out of the team that you think can win without making those risky throws. You wanted a game manager today, and that's
to be fair to him. The absolutely disastrous, like, head-scratching play that he made a couple of years ago, that is gone from his game. I did not see that. Holding the ball on too long, unfortunately, I think that's something that you're going to have to deal with. But the decisive, and honestly, a lot of the stuff that we didn't think he had in his game, that route to Johnny Wilson at the end of the first half, he's got some anticipatory throwing.
Yeah, they pointed that out a lot.
Dude, rolling out to his left, fantastic, just a great throw. So you have tools to work with. The guy that I want to highlight on the offensive side of the ball, Trey Benson. He had a couple of tough runs, man, especially on outside zone, where the one thing you had to avoid in this type of game was the disastrous, like, -10, -5 run. Like, you've got to keep your offense on schedule. He did not do a great job of avoiding that. But, man, even accounting for that, 19 carries, 95 yards, 5 yards a clip, 3 touchdowns. He ran tough. He's ran tough all day. And, man, when he knows, he's kind of like the quintessential Mike Norvell running back. 2 yards, -1, 2 yards. But he knows if he keeps hitting it, he is going to break one big. And when he did, man, the game went with them. So huge props to Trey Benson. 3 touchdowns on the road against a bitter rival that wanted to completely spoil your season. I think he had a great game, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild what they went with the outside zone. They got counter going. If you listen to us on Tuesday when we kind of talked about when we did a little look ahead on the UF defense and team in general, we talked about that they were not going to spill counter. Teams that have not spilled counter against Florida State have given up chunk runs to Florida State on counter. So that played itself out. I mean, they got a couple of good clutch runs off of counter tonight.
They spilled too. They were spilling. They were spilling counter.
Were they?
Yeah.
A couple times I saw kicks.
Okay. I saw them spill, so okay. I figured they were doing it a lot.
Either way, they were able to get counter going. I have been more than anybody the most vocal about not running power runs with multiple tight ends inside the box.
I think you're right, and I want to hear your opinion on this, Adam. I was disappointed formationally of what we did. It was a lot of pistol. It was a lot of like attached tight end, just not on the line of scrimmage, just off.
Nub.
Formationally, it was very vanilla, and we ran a lot of it the entire game. I've been begging. You've been begging, and maybe it's a limitation of like Tate's game. The spread out, like light box, the stuff that will dictate you a light box to make your offensive lineman's life easier and our run game easier. I didn't see a lot of it tonight. I actually did not see a lot of formational diversity tonight at all. What did you think about that? Do you agree or disagree? I may be wrong.
I disagree with you a little bit, actually. I thought Mike did a good job of trying to dictate terms with their formations. But at the same time trying to protect. Like you saw some of the unbalanced stuff. They put the tight end over and they did some of that stuff. They got the sack off of it late from Marshall off the backside.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they tried to be very safe at times with their formations to try to make sure that they were going to get the blitz looks or be able to cover up blitz looks to keep Tate safe. There was some of that. Run game wise, though, I thought they did a nice job of creating voids and Florida was going to sit in their 6-man box. I mean, they were not going to come out of it. So I thought you actually did a pretty good job of getting them to widen certain things. Can we get an unfiltered me on the unnecessary roughness? I think I'll get in too much trouble. Anyway, I thought they did a good job formationally. Sometimes they put the tight end on the line of scrimmage. I believe the outside zone run in the third quarter. The tight end was up on the line of scrimmage, and it did a nice job. It got the end to widen out some, which created a nice running lane for him. But the last touchdown run was a thing of beauty. They ran duo. They were able to get the corner engaged in the run fit, which teams have been doing to Florida State all year.
Yep.
He was not able to come in and engage in the run fit. He whiffed completely, and it was a touchdown run. And what was really beautiful, they handled it inside really well with Mo and Keon left and right. Byers did a great job, but the tight ends, Biscuit, I can't remember if it was Preston or if it was Jackson West. I'll have to go back and look. It may have been.
They had West out there more than I expected they would.
The two of them working backer to safety was an absolute thing of beauty. Like they worked an incredible combo block. And look, I mean, I've been banging my head on the wall, like stop running out of tight compressed formations. And they did it in the biggest moment of this game, and it sealed it and it won it for them. And so I'm going to tip my cap. Like they're throwing a lot of shit out there trying to figure out what to do with this run game and try to get it going. We knew that they were going to get some explosives tonight because Florida gives the explosives up. Like that's just what they do. They stay consistent with that and stop like trying to. They just stayed consistent with it. They weren't going to ask Tate to win the football game. They were going to let their defense do what their defense does, which is hit shutouts in the second half. Right. And they knew that they were going to get explosives in the run game when they got the looks that they wanted and they got the calls that they wanted.
I think you're 100% right, and it does give credence to like they finally hit them after a while. They stayed very consistent. They stayed very patient with the running game, and it paid off for them. Just the second half.
Two runs off a tight duo tonight.
Yeah. Duo looked
that-
good.
Kev, what did you think of once they were down 12-7, I think, coming into the second half? What did you think of that first drive of the third? What did they change, or was it just sticking with what they wanted to do and continue to stick with
it? It ended up a
What
3-and-out,
do you
right? Coming out of the half, it ended up a
The
3-and-out.
offense, yeah.
I
So
remember, man, this game was just a blur.
They got another, I think, delay game maybe or something kind of not going. Oh, it was like I think they might have got one first down and there was a PI on the RPO that like didn't get called. I don't know. I don't know if they were doing anything different. They just you got to hit the explosives, you got to hit the plays, and they didn't hit a few of the downfield shots that I think they were hoping to hit.
I agree.
And I think that Florida was being kind of tight with their coverage and making that hard, and you didn't see. I think that Tate could have delivered some better passes down the sideline. But you also didn't see some of the things that you're used to seeing out of Keon Coleman in the receiving game.
Sure.
That touchdown he could have caught, but it wasn't a great pass. But who's arguing there? There were a couple things where you're just like, well, it feels like they've made these catches before and they just weren't making them today. And I don't know. This is kind of what's bothering me is everybody's talking Tate. This was a rivalry game with a new quarterback in a rough environment. Like it was Tate, it was Glenn, it was whoever.
It's one of the worst environments you could for your first like official like real start. 11-0. The crushing weight of the pressure of trying to like carry forth Jordan's legacy into one of the best. It's 11-0. It's one of the best regular seasons. A storied, I guess. Thanks, Chris. one of the absolute best regular seasons that a storied college football program has ever had. And it's up to you, backup, to carry it forth on the road. It's fine. He did not play his best game. He did not make all the throws. However,
there's so much consternation about Tate. Like
it ain't him. Like
let's let it lie.
It's
let's
not
let
him.
Tate's story continue to be told over this next week.
Listen,
this was a classic 2023 Florida State football game, right?
I
mean, this quarters of football.
How come,
I understand. Wait. I understand the consternation because this Florida defense is not a typical Florida defense. They are bad. We watched them on film.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They are bad. I think schematically there are a lot of advantages that you could have like taken over them that you did not. Is what it is. The rivalry energy on the road is a massive disadvantage for somebody making their first play.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, the disastrous Tate plays that everybody was like totally afraid of, there were a couple. The safety 100% one, and then I'm not sure how many. He didn't get bailed. Other than Johnny Wilson, his receivers didn't bail him out tonight. He made a great decision to Keon, and Keon should have caught the touchdown. Other than that, like, he didn't have a ton of help, especially early in the game from the running game. And I love that they were patient. They stuck with it, and the kids stuck with it, and it ended up paying off for them.
And I would say too that the passing game is going to be a work in progress with Tate because he doesn't have reps with a guy like Keon.
Right.
And that makes it difficult. Like, I think people will say, oh, he should be able to just go out there and throw the ball to him. Clearly, there's not a chemistry between the two of them. Yeah. Jordan understood what Keon was seeing, and Keon understood what Jordan was seeing. You don't see that. If you watch Keon closely, a lot of times he's got his hand up. He's trying to signal to Tate. Tate's not even looking at it. There's a reason that the ball found its way to Johnny Wilson so much tonight for Tate as a primary receiver. And that's fine. Tate was a decoy. Or Keon was a decoy. They're throwing a lot of bodies at Keon. Everybody is trying to take him away. When his one-on-ones were there, Tate went to him. One time Keon, I think Keon stops running that route in the end zone personally. And then another time he stops running around on the deep ball that I think he's going to pop open.
Right up the seam.
Tate throws a pretty good ball there. And Keon, I just don't think he expected the ball to come to him. And that's a chemistry thing. Like, those two have a week together now where they're throwing to one another. Not that Tate hadn't thrown the ball to him at all during practice throughout the season, but those reps are primarily going to Jordan Travis and Keon, and they're not Tate to Keon. So I think that maybe with another week, that's gonna help the two of them. I got to say this: that was a ballsy throw and a ballsy catch by Tate to Ja'Kai Douglas on that
fourth down.
Oh,
was it fourth? Was it fourth? I thought it was third. Was it fourth?
I thought it was fourth.
Whatever the hell it was. That was a ball play right there. And he fired that freaking thing in there, and Ja'Kai he just snagged it with the dude all over his back.
The thing is, so here's my thing. Jordan Travis was a Heisman candidate quarterback. You have to expect drop off, right?
Absolutely.
Like there's a drop off, and like I was upset when Florida State barely beat Miami at home, and I got told it's a rivalry game and that these things happen and it's closer than it should be and blah blah blah. And now it's like a backup quarterback got his first start in a rough environment on a rivalry game.
Backed up in his own end zone the whole game.
Backed up in his own end zone the whole game. And now we're going to be like, fire everybody because like,
oh, dude,
I think they need awesome.
Is that the vibe? Is that the vibe of the chat right now, guys?
No, not the majority. There's a few people.
I hope not.
But we've got 1,000 people in here, so shout out to 1,000 people. Make sure you like.
Love you all. 12-0. How many other, not just FSU teams, how many other programs that have played college football for 150 years can say they have won 12 regular season games without any defeats? It sucks. It's a grind. It's a marathon. You won the games that you needed to win. And on the road, the effort of your defense combined with the grittiness of your offense, my God, dude, this is one of the most magical Florida State regular seasons of all time. You're 2 wins better than most anybody predicted you to be. If you saw anybody, even the most Pollyanna sunshine pumping fool that decided, like, I would love to see their regular season prediction. How many on the books 12-0 predictions were there? Man, I'd like to see one because I don't think they exist. This is an absolutely fantastic season. A great effort. I cannot imagine. And they knew those disgusting, those absolutely inflammatory swamp people with their Jordan Travis centered like sheets on their fraternity houses. Absolutely disgusting. I did much worse when I was in college. Still disgusting. I'll make sure that I'm appalled. They wanted this.
Mm-hmm.
This was to secure a bowl game for them. This was to annihilate a perfect regular season for their rival. No, Cheddar Bob. See you later. Tate is better than you. You won. It's an absolutely, like, there are oppressive environments in college football.
Yeah.
And there's what your backup quarterback faced tonight, which is the top tier, absolutely the most oppressive environments in football. And you came out on top due to your composure, your coaching, and your ability to play a 4-quarter game. And I will tell you what, man, get your stuff dialed in. Florida State is still one of the toughest teams to beat in the entire country.
Yeah.
Now, their ceiling may not be as high as others, but their degree of being able to be beaten, it's tough to beat them. Just the way that they play, the way that they believe in each other, they're tough to beat. And guess what? 12 teams had a shot and 12 teams failed.
Well,
and the next ones that will, I don't give them a good shot either because nobody has yet. So I love this team. I love this game. I love this victory. I love the circumstances surrounding it. I love the in-game circumstances. I love the way that they were able to pull out an absolutely tough, gritty victory on the road when they needed to. Guys, anything else to say before we wrap a bow on this and see you later?
Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, I think
Tate won one for you.
Tate. Okay. Yeah. So the conversation is Tate can't win football games. Tate will never be able to lead you to, win any games. Tate's a 0-win quarterback. If he was successful against Louisville because they couldn't prepare for him. And he didn't light the world on fire. And I'm not saying that he deserves to start next year, but he's a kid that's put in his lumps at Florida State. He's been here when he could have transferred out. He stepped in a big environment. He allowed it so you didn't have to throw a true freshman who has a lot of potential in there and potentially put him in a situation where, he makes some mistakes that kind of haunt him, like Tate had to have happen when he started as a true freshman. That's a favor for Brock Glenn, and in my opinion, him being there, him being a constant presence. He's a Knoll, man, and he's stuck it out. And I'm very proud of the kid. I'm very proud of how he came out, and he didn't make any mistakes. He didn't throw picks. He didn't lose you this game. He did enough to win. And he might not be the quarterback of the future. Yeah, you're probably not a team that beats Georgia in the playoffs, but who freaking cares? You're
not with that kind of attitude, bitch. Shut up.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know if you were that team beforehand, but now you're 12-0, and I don't care. You just had an undefeated a regular season ACC championship game on the line. State champions. Tate Rodemaker won you a game in the swamp. Who would have guessed that could happen in the summer? Nobody.
Not me.
And
not me.
I'm stoked. I think it's awesome, and I'm here for it.
Load the clip up, Knowles. Everybody's our victim. Come on, Adam. How do you feel? I feel
great. Man. I was like, I'm not one that is overly fired up with these things, but I got in here I'm excited. This is incredible, and I'm trying to be a little bit quiet because my wife's sleeping, my kids are sleeping, but
shh, they can sleep any other day of the week. Let it ride, big dog.
I mean, this shit's great, man. We're freaking 12-0. F it at this point. Let's ride. I don't give a shit what Kirk Herbstreit's got to say about Florida State anymore.
Hell yeah, Kirk. Not on our watch, baby.
It just is what it is. I don't need the Tate talk right now. I don't need the offensive line hate. Defenses. I'm not here for any of it tonight.
12-0.
Get out of here. Just hop off of it and enjoy this victory. You just beat that team in front of Jeremiah Smith. Go land that freaking kid. All right.
Tim, how many tears is Tim gonna cry on the sideline of Holly Rowe?
Tim Tebow.
Such good being a Gator.
That was so weird.
Think about this.
Loser.
They had Spurrier there. They had Tebow there. Who did they have come out and be the freaking 2-bit? They had somebody else come out and be get out, just hop off. Come on. Enjoy this win. Just be all in with 12-0. Get your asses over to the battle and donate to them. Let's freaking do it already.
How many
people are bailing. People don't like that.
Gonna cry.
We lost 100 people. Shit got real and everybody bailed.
Tim. Sucks to suck. Knowles are 12-0. We love you. Knowles247.com. Subscribe. Get all the information. Or being crying Tim Tebow and don't know what's going on. Trust me. Don't want to have that option. It's embarrassing. We love you. 12-0. Undefeated. Florida State regular season. My God, revel in it because there's a whole hell of a lot of programs that cannot. We love you. Keep chopping.